Well, good afternoon. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2026. We are gathered for our afternoon Community Planning Infrastructure and Resources work session. My name is John Kafalis, Commissioner, joined by my colleague Kristen Stevens. Commissioner Shattuck McNally is away. Our main topic today is to get an update regarding our solid waste facilities, and we have really good and smart folks that are assembled here to provide us with that information. I don't have anything else to say. Then I will turn it over to our director, Leslie.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Leslie Ellis, Community Planning Infrastructure and Resources. So it's my pleasure to have Dwayne Penny here today to give you an update and share with you all the tremendous work that's been happening at solid waste. And especially this update is focused on the opening of the new landfill and transfer station infrastructure. And you'll see that in the slides that you have and that he'll present. He can also answer questions and share more information about some of the other programs that he's working on as well. But the main focus really is on these new facilities that will be open in July. So we're excited for that.
And Dwayne, before you can begin, I'd like to mention that our county manager, Lorinda Volker, has joined us.
Great. So I'll pass it along to you, Dwayne. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Dwayne Penny, and I am the Director of Solid Waste for Larimer County. And today we're here to talk about the new solid waste facilities that are almost 100% completed on the landfill side and about 85% on the transfer station side. And so I have some slides that I would like to go through, and I have a lot of slides, but I included some pictures because seeing's believing. And so I'm excited to get to the pictures, but there's a lot of information, so I'll just get right into it if it's okay with the Commissioners. Yes. Okay? So today we'll talk about the solid waste infrastructure, the Larimer County North Landfill, Central Diversion and Transfer Station, next steps for diversion infrastructure, and the Extended Producer Responsibility Program, which is a statewide recycling. I think it's important to go back and kind of recoup, how did we get to where we are today? And 10 plus years ago, Larimer County and its municipal partners got together and developed a solid waste infrastructure master plan. And a part of that plan, there were a lot of facilities that were evaluated. And as a group, there were 5 facilities that were targeted as these are the facilities that we want to build for the new solid waste program moving forward, with a big emphasis on diversion. And all while this was going on, the Larimer County landfill, which has been in operation since 1963, is just about filled to capacity. And so that put a little bit of a damper on things, because if the landfill closes, we have to have a landfill, so we had to open a new landfill. And so the 5 facilities are the Central Transfer Station, which we changed it to Diversion and Transfer Station, and I'll explain why. The new county landfill, excuse me, which is the North Landfill, and Yard Waste Organics, Processing, C&D Facility, and Aerobic Composting, including food waste. And so those 5 facilities are the facilities that we are working on, and I'll be able to touch on each one. But the main focus today will be the transfer and the landfill, because it sets up the diversion for the next steps. Here's some photos of what a yard waste program looks like. You know, one of the things that we're doing is, because odor is a problem with compost, we are working with a technology called GORE technology, which eliminates probably 98% of odor. And that allows us to be more have more flexibility with composting. And so we are really digging into that technology, and there will be more to come on that. But that's going to open some doors for us.
Say it again, Dwayne. What is the technology called?
GORE.
GORE?
GORE, G-O-R-E.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. The new county landfill, which is in the middle, construction and demolition, processing facility, and then, of course, the transfer station, aerobic composting, including food waste, And our existing MRF is added in there because we have plans with the new extended producer responsibility to work with our partners at the state to expand our recycling facility in the future. So, I'm sorry. So MRF, and that's something solid waste people are guilty of, is our acronyms. So a MRF is a material recoveries facility. And, see, there's more acronyms there, EDOP, EDOP. So the landfill permit process was every bit of 5 years. We are still permitting the landfill, and it's going to be opened up hopefully in 2 months as we get to our target date of opening. But I think it's interesting to note we just finished the construction and submitted what is called a construction quality assurance document, 5,363 pages. And so nothing with landfills is simple. It's pretty complex, and the reason for that, there's a lot of complexities into the liner system, which I'm going to be excited to share with our new modern landfill and our environmental controls. So it took 5 years to get it permitted. We're moving forward. We're going through, right now, the site design is done, construction. The operating criteria is in place. It's in our engineer design and operations plan. And also we have a C&D, which is a certificate of designation that the county commissioners approved 2 years ago to start the landfill. And so both of those are our permits that we operate with, and they are our driving permit. So financial assurance is the state requires landfill operators to put funds away each year as they place material into a landfill. They require us to put a specific amount into the bank for closure, post-closure. To talk about the new landfill, this landfill, unlike the Larimer County landfill, this landfill is 100% modern. And when we talk about the cap on this landfill, it's going to be very different than the Larimer County landfill. Both of them are very good caps, but this one is going to take less soil because if we start at the top there, you see final cover cross-section. I guess I could use my pointer, that would help. But we start here, we have the waste. We have the waste in the landfill, and this is on the capping of it. We put 12 inches of intermediate soil, and then we use a 40 mil HDPE liner, which is welded together. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick of plastic. You couldn't poke a hole in it if you wanted to. You could with a machine or something, but it's really rigid plastic. 18 inches of soil, and then we put vegetation on top of that. That's for the final cover. Now, we're a long ways from that with the new landfill, so I'll switch down to the landfill cross-section for the bottom of the landfill. So if you look at the landfill, we start out with the earth. And then we took the property, we designed it, and the first thing in our new cell, we have 12 inches of prepared subgrade. And pretty stringent requirements on the material for compaction, moisture, and processing. And there's huge, well, the document I said was 5,000 pages plus. That is every test that was ever done out there is there. And then after the 12-inch subgrade, we have 3 liner systems. The first one is called a geosynthetic clay liner. It's about a 1/2 inch thick, but it's equal to 2 foot of compacted clay. And it's a bentonite clay mix that lays down, and I have pictures of that we'll see here in a few slides. It kind of gives you a really good idea what it looks like. And then a 60 millimeter HDPE geomembrane goes on top of that. And so the two combined are called a composite liner. So you have 2. And then, of course, the third one is the geocomposite drainage media, and it's about a 1/2 inch thick as well. So the entire liner is about 3/4 of an inch thick, but really a good system. And with the geocomposite membrane, it helps us collect any leachate that happens throughout the course of the landfill's life. And then lastly, 12 inches of protective cover. And then, of course, waste goes on top of that. And we're right here. We're ready for waste. We just need to get the approval from the state on the CQA report. So a lot of information coming out. So if you have any questions, please ask.
Let's pause for a moment. Commissioner Stevens, any questions or comments at this point?
Just a question, obviously having all those layers will protect like groundwater and other things. Can you just speak to that a little bit about some of the concerns and why these modern kind of landfills are so much safer for just the community in general?
Yes. Number one, when speaking about new landfills, it's location. So you don't build it on top of a stream. You don't build it in an area where there's high groundwater. So you really dig into the geology of the surrounding area, and you really dig into, and that's what the engineer design and operations plan that I mentioned. It's 2,500 pages, and it's strictly all engineering, where they evaluate the property to see if it would be a good landfill, which it happens to be because of the soil. It's a clay material, and it works really well. So the natural barriers are just there. When you add in this new liner system, then it really protects you from groundwater coming in or leachate going out, which is both a problem for landfill operators.
And Dwayne, I have a quick question, if I may, and that is this state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line landfill, are there any like it either in Colorado or nationally? And also, are there any other new landfills being built in Colorado?
I'll start and work backwards on that.
Thank you, sir.
There are no new landfills being constructed or permitted that I'm aware of. My guess is there's probably some in the background, but you don't normally hear about them until they've been approved. So a lot of the landfill operators years ago went to a liner system. Now, not this one in particular, but they started using clay. So in the 90s, when I was running some really big landfills, I was putting in clay liner, 2 to 3 foot of clay liner. And then as technology has progressed, this type of liner system has become more favorable because you don't take up a lot of airspace. So if you have 2 or 3 foot of clay liner, that's a lot of airspace that you're wasting. So if you can get equal or better amounts of protection using this type of complex composite system, then that's why we chose it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think jumping into the some of the summary capital expenditures, the landfill has been worked on for a lot of years behind the scenes, and you didn't hear a lot about it. But it started back in the late 1900s when the county purchased the property, and so if you look at the history, the property purchase, permitting, off-site improvements, and design, to date we've spent $16 million. Now I think it's important to talk about the off-site improvements for a minute. We spent $8 million to help the county engineering and road and bridge develop the Owl Canyon project, where we overlaid 5 miles of County Road 9 and redid the intersection at County Road 70 and County Road 9, which is a huge improvement with the circle out there. We also spent $2.1 million on a traffic signal at Taft Hill Road in Trilby. And that traffic signal was good timing, I think, because there's traffic on that road. But I think this will help us operate the transfer station too, people getting in and out safely, and it will be a controlled intersection. And so we've already seen a lot of the positives with that intersection. The on-site infrastructure, which is 100% completed, was $13.4 million. It looks really nice. The pictures here, well, I need to talk a little bit, and then I'll show you the pictures, and then I can kind of hit the summary of this. And then the cell construction, $8,600,000. We moved, to get the cell started, we moved about 850,000 cubic yards of dirt to get it going. So to get a new landfill going, it takes a lot of effort. And so that number is a little bit higher than a normal cell construction project. Not a whole lot, though. And then, of course, 1.5 million for fencing, support vehicles, utilities. So that brings us right up to around $40 million for the landfill. And it's 600, that property is 630 acres. 317 acres are permitted for landfill. So we have a lot of acreage out there that we can use for other projects that are kind of in the works too. Tentative opening date is July 6th, 2026. That's 2 months from now, so we better get to work. We have been working very hard, and I would like to just thank my team and all the consultants and certainly the county departments on engineering that's been helping us, and the planning department. It's a team effort to bring it all in. But we're working really hard, but now our partners at the state have a lot of reviewing to do before they give us a thumbs up. The authorized users, who's going to use the landfill. The idea behind this new landfill was not to be like the Larimer County landfill where it was just an open landfill. This landfill is going to have some criteria to it because, and I'll get into that a little bit, we have two facilities, a transfer station and a landfill. And so we have a lot of the haulers and residents and people that use the Larimer County landfill. That traffic is already in the network. We don't want to change that. And let me explain why. As you see, the authorized users is commercial waste haulers, construction demo haulers, municipalities, and then it says communities within 10-mile radius from the landfill, Wellington included. One of the things that we have worked with our partners at Wellington, the town of Wellington, was to mitigate traffic from going through their town. And so we took that and worked with them. And here's what we plan to do. Pretty much all of Fort Collins and the city of Fort Collins, the city of Loveland, will continue to use this is residents and self-haulers will continue to use the transfer station. And so commercial haulers can use the new landfill, but they have to stay on the designed route, which was I-25, Owl Canyon, north to the landfill, do not drive through the town of Wellington. And so those are our commitments, and we'll be able to enforce that because we have hauler's license with the haulers, and so we'll be able to enforce that. And of course, the reason that we were excited about this meeting is to let the commissioners know that we're moving forward on this, and we're going to start a pretty big blitz here about talking about our facilities, who, what, where, and when. In a couple of weeks, we're going to post some highlights on our website, and then working with Leslie and Michelle, we're going to start talking about with the newspaper and really get it out to everybody so there's nobody wondering about where do I go next, what do I do? So we want to get all that up front. And then the types of waste, pretty much a typical landfill type of waste, with the idea in the next few years to hit diversion really hard. We're hoping a lot of this just goes away, but it's going to take a community effort. More to come on that. Any questions on this slide? So here's some photos now. This is the entrance to the new landfill. So the road going to the north and south there is County Road 9. And that's our new entrance going into the new landfill. And that's from a drone, so it's a little harder to see, but here's what the new scale house looks like. So we have two inbound. One is for the transfer trucks. They have a kiosk. They just pull up, wave their little badge, and they go in and dump. And then the public, the limited public that we have used the landfill will use the inside lane of the scale. And here's our new maintenance building. This will house our support equipment, all of our tools and pickups and trucks and stuff like that, so we can start on those cold winter days and take care of litter control and everything. This is getting into the liner system. This is a really good picture. You see 3 different colors there, actually 4 with the dirt. All the way to the right, let me get my cursor going here. Sorry, Leslie. There we go. So this is the dirt right here. there we go. This is all dirt right here. This is geosynthetic clay. This is HDPE liner, and this is a geomembrane. That's all of them in place in the landfill. 20 acres for the first cell. It's a big cell. But I have another picture. Here's a protective cover being put on it. So you can see the earthwork contractor putting dirt on it. We put 1 foot of soil. Here's another one that you can really get an idea of the size of the cell and see the different colors. They just follow it right around. Now we went 2 months longer than what we had planned because of the wind. And you know, we've often talked about the wind. We know the wind is a challenge at this site, and we have alternatives in place to handle it. But we definitely had to slow down on some liner projects because the wind wouldn't let us work. And so we had quite a few days where we were shut down. But we made it up, and now we're ready to go. Here's a leachate collection pipe. So there are multiple leachate collection pipes at the bottom of the landfill. Now they are covered with rock and then that Maripy blanket. And then we cover it up with soil until we're ready to use it. And as we put trash on the liner, we'll cut that dirt off. And then the water will be able to go right into that rock. Now, leachate comes from one thing. Leachate is water that goes through trash and leaches through it and comes out underneath. That's leachate. And so it's not, it's water that we can recirculate it and spray it back on the landfill for dust control. But as a part of our regulations with the state, we have to sample it to make sure it doesn't have anything harmful in it, and then we can spray it on the landfill. Almost all landfills do that. Very seldom does it come out to where you can't use it. The last picture, that's the completed cell right there. Let me show you where right here is where we come in after we go. We come in right here. We've got this area. We're prepping it right now. And that's where we'll start to take trash, and then we'll build layers across the bottom, and we'll just start filling it in. So the first 5 feet is what we call a fluff lift. That means it has to be select material. We can't just put anything in there. And then we do not put the compactor on it. We just push it out on there on the protective cover, and then after we get another lift or two on it, we start to compact it. And that way we protect the liner. And so it's going to take a little while to get 20 acres covered and get this landfill going really well, which takes me back to what are we going to do until then? Well, we still have about 8 months left at the Larimer County landfill that we have planned in to be able to use to help the transfer station get going, and I'll talk a little more about that on the transfer, but we still have both landfills to help get going here. So it's going to be a big transition, but I feel like we're pretty organized. Any questions on the landfill and the cell? Okay. Well, I'll switch to the transfer station. The transfer station, diversion and transfer station is a hub of the diversion program and infrastructure. The transfer station is really a key piece in this, especially because we know we have wind challenges at our new landfill. The transfer station will help us on those wind days. And so we, in some of our meetings with some of the town's residents, we talked about, you know, we can close the landfill down when it gets 40 miles an hour for 1 hour or sustained gusts of 55 or greater. And so we don't have to push it and litter the entire countryside. So we have controls in place, and we have a litter control plan that we follow if we ever do get litter off site. And so the transfer station will be an alternative to help us. And that way residents or commercial haulers can use the transfer on those high wind days. We also have an agreement with another of the national waste companies that we can use their landfill to haul our transfer trailers to on wind days. And we have an agreement in place, and so that will help us also.
So thank you, Dwayne, colleagues. So that, when you, earlier you mentioned on high wind days, we have our options, our backup plans. This is what you're talking about. I mean, we have the diversion and transfer station, and then we could bring material out to the alt landfill, is that correct?
It's actually the Erie landfill. They really worked with us, and we worked with them. We have a good deal with them. And so we're really excited about working with them. It's a little longer to the Erie landfill, but it's going to be worth the haul.
What about the trucks that we're purchasing? Will you get into that?
Yes, I will. And I have pictures.
Then I will hold off on my question.
Okay, nope, you're welcome to answer any or ask any questions. That's why I'm here. So thank you. Sometimes I think I should have the pictures first, probably. So the diversion and transfer station is a hub for diversion programs and infrastructure. So as one of the reasons I mentioned, we don't want to really upset the traffic systems the way they are right now. So we do about 200,000 visitors a year, users that come to the landfill. And so the majority of those will continue to use the transfer station, and that's the idea. And the reason is, we'll be able to develop the diversion programs, which we've been working with our partners on for the last 10 plus years. So some of the advantages of a transfer station, we can we can do a lot of sorting and recover materials that are being dumped on the floor, like cardboard. We have loads of cardboard that come in, people dump, and it's like, we need to take that and put it out back where we can recycle that. That's just one example. Small vehicles, cars and pickups can use the transfer station. Then we load all those small loads into one transfer. You could probably put 500 pickups into a transfer truck. Probably, maybe, let's go back 200, because some pickup loads are pretty good size. But we can put a lot of the smaller loads into the bigger truck. Waste is loaded into larger vehicles, then it's transported to the landfill. Now, the advantage about having our own transportation system is, as we develop composting facilities, we develop biomass projects, which those are coming in the future. We also, if we decide to work with technology providers to convert some of the materials, we can transport that material to these facilities. And so there's just not a lot of solid waste transportation opportunities in Larimer County. So this is going to be a big one for Larimer County in a lot of ways. Recycle drop-offs, diversion of green waste. And so I think now's a good time to talk about it, but I'm going to go to a picture if you don't mind. And then I'm going to come back. This is, right here, this is the transfer station. It's 40,000 square feet of usable space. The entrance is off Trilby and Taft Hill Road. It's going to be all asphalt paving all the way around the facility. That's about a week and a half ago picture, so the roof is on, and a lot more progress has been made since then. So we're pretty excited about this project. I think there's about 100 acres around this facility that is ideal for our diversion programs. And when I get to that, I'll be able to show you why that's going to be really, really handy to have this transfer station. Authorized users, commercial waste haulers. A shining example is the city of Loveland. They have their own collection and recycling, and so they're only several miles from the landfill. So they will benefit greatly and save a lot of money by using the transfer station, because they don't have to buy a bunch of new trucks and equipment. They can use the transfer station. And so this is really a good deal for the city of Loveland. And they also can continue to use our recycling center, which is at the landfill. Now, the location of the transfer station is at the Larimer County landfill. I didn't mention that. It's on the south side of the property, but we'll have to use the new entrance when we open it up, which is Trilby and Taft. The old entrance to the Larimer County landfill will remain open for recycling, and we'll also use it as a fire access lane for the Poudre Valley Fire Department as an alternative road to get into the transfer station. Self-haulers, roofers, residents, contractors. And so we're pretty excited about this facility. Initially, we're just going to pretty much load the garbage, put it into trucks, haul it to the landfill as we're developing our new diversion programs. Types of materials, and this is a big one, source separated materials for diversion and recycling. When I get to the diversion side of this, I want to tell you about some grants that we're working on and some policies that we're working on that we've already spoken to you about, but I'll give everybody a reminder because it's starting to move forward. Municipal solid waste, household garbage, construction materials, self-haulers, shingles, yard waste. We want everybody going to the transfer station because we're going to develop these programs and we'll really be able to utilize this facility. That's a pretty good photo of what the new transfer station looks like. Looks just like the picture I showed you, I hope, because we're about 75 to 80% constructed. Here's the new trucks Commissioner Capalas asked about. That's our new semi-tractor trailer right there on the left. Very nice units. We have 10 of them. And to the right of it is our new loader. That's a Volvo L150 loader. That bucket is called a waste bucket. It has a rubber bottom underneath it so it doesn't tear up our 16-inch concrete floor that we just put in for the new transfer station.
If I may, colleagues, I seem to recall we were considering getting electric or natural gas trucks. Is that the case? Can you tell us about that, please?
We couldn't afford the electric. They were 3 times as much in cost. And the CNG, we weren't quite ready for. And so what we thought we would do is let's get the transfer going, and as we replace the trucks, let's go to the next fuel. And so these are diesel trucks.
Diesel trucks.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, yes, Commissioner, please, sorry.
No, that's fine. Is that, those trailers are covered? Are they covered? How are they?
Well, they have tarps on top, and we roll them off or roll them up into a ball to one side, and then we load the trailer, and then we roll them back and tarp it down so that litter doesn't blow out on the road. And so we know that's going to be a pretty big thing because it drives us crazy when we see haulers losing paper because we have to pick it up, and it's a nuisance for people. So those are really nice tarps for those trailers, and they will be tarped before they leave the transfer station to the landfill. Next steps for diversion. Once we have the transfer station, you know what? I did not go through the cost. Do you mind if I go back and talk about the capital cost? I think it's important that we talk about this because the users of the landfill over the last, since what's been over 60 years, are the ones that are funding these projects. And so these projects are funded from the landfill users. And the infrastructure and site development is $21 million to build a facility in the site, $5 million for heavy equipment, semi-trucks and transfer trailers, and $1.5 million for permitting, design, and continued site development, because we're still moving forward with it. That brings the total up to $27,500,000. And so we can move back to the diversion infrastructure. One of the exciting things that we're working about is through the Colorado Energy Office, they put out a grant, and we applied for the grant, and we were successful in winning. Actually, we won 2 grants. So since I'm saying it, I just will explain it. The first one was $2.1 million for our methane gas collection expansion system, which is in process right now. We're in the process of designing the methane gas system expansion. Next week, we're going to submit it to the CDPHE, the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And once they approve it, we'll get a contractor on board and we'll start the construction. The other grant was and we submitted it for policy development. And that one we're pretty excited about. We put in two policies. The first policy was to prohibit metals, cardboard, green waste, and yard waste from going into the landfill, and also concrete and asphalt, because we want to start recycling that at the Larimer County landfill. So, now we're not going to prohibit those materials tomorrow. It's a process. But what we'll do is we'll work with the CEO on our grant, and we'll go through a number of steps. We'll work with our municipal partners. We'll make sure that policies at the city and the county all work together so that we all are in agreement. And then hopefully within the next year and a half or so, we can get this thing nailed down and approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And when that happens, then these materials will not be able to go to the landfill. Now, we've got to be careful not to get the cart ahead of the horse here, so we have to get the infrastructure going so that when we do this, we have a place to take these materials. And so we're working on that pretty hard in the background. So that grant is $2 million, and we're still working with negotiating with the CEO right now. Design, construct, and operate a mechanical sorting system. So that would be a C&D processing facility. Our partner agencies have been wanting to, come up with a way to figure out how to process C&D material. And so we've been working with another number of technology providers, and sorting the materials out is not a big problem. The problem is, what do you do with the end users? You can have all these piles all over, but if you can't get rid of the material and make some profit on them to pay for your processing costs, then it goes to the landfill, and then you got some expensive material. And so we have to be really careful and work with our partners on the C&D process. And so we're working forward on that policy. We're pretty excited about getting that going. We think within the next 2 weeks, we should start getting the agreement in place with the CEO. So more to come. Incorporate a pilot compost program with municipal partners. We are working with CDPHE. So under the compost regs for CDPHE, we can get approved to do a pilot program, and it's a case-by-case basis. And so we're just in the process of talking to them about being able to do a pilot program. And so far, the correspondence going back and forth is pretty favorable. And so we would use a GORE system and work with our partners and do a compost program to make sure that we get into a full-blown program that we could handle it. And the interesting thing about composting is you need nitrogen and carbon. And we have plenty of carbon. We have a lot of green waste. We live in Larimer County in the forest. We have a lot of biomass. And so now we need the nitrogen. And so, food waste is a good nitrogen source, animal waste. And so the pilot program is going to be pretty interesting to put together and see how we can bring this together to make something like this work. Because the ideal process is to make a compost that people actually want, and so that you can sell it to pay for the processing costs. So more to come on the pilot program. Now, all of these programs are going to be right behind the transfer station. We have 100 acres there that we can work with all that. And I have some pictures here. I'll show you kind of all the space out there. Partner with municipalities to develop a food waste collection program. So there's two types of food waste. There's food scraps that come from residents, and it's been tried by a lot of collection companies where they take it and they mix it in with different types of yard waste, and it just gets so contaminated from plastics and things like that that the programs just have not fared very well, and they've ended up closing the programs down. And so one of the things that we're looking at is working with our partner agencies on some food waste collection programs that could be tied into our pilot program. And we know the city of Port Collins is neck deep in their pilot program, and we're excited to hear more on that when they get it further down the road on that. But that's what we would also look at. Food scraps coming from the residents is going to have to be monitored very closely for contamination. Because if you get plastics in your composting, then you're spreading microplastics all over the state, and we don't want that. And so we're going to have to really be careful with how we do our composting. Incorporate food waste, green waste, and animal bedding. I just mentioned that. Recycle concrete and asphalt. So at the Larimer County landfill, with the space that we have, in the next week or two, we're going to start posting on our website free concrete and asphalt, as long as it's source separated and clean. We can afford to take it free for a year or so and build up our inventory, and then we can crush it. And I know our road and bridge can use it, and I know our other partner agencies would like to have it too. So those are pretty good materials that can go back into the kind of create a circular economy with those materials fairly easily. And then develop technologies on site to process biomass and wood waste. One of the counties in Colorado that I think has hit the headlines for doing biomass and trying to figure out how to handle their biomass is Douglas County. And I reached out to them and asked for some information, which they gladly shared with me. We're excited about their program. They're going to do a biochar program where they're using a rotary biochar process, and they're going to be processing 1.5 tons an hour in an enclosed facility. And I think September is when they plan to launch this thing, and actually it's already being constructed, but it should be done in September. We're pretty excited about what they're doing, and we think that's something that we really want to evaluate, because you could take the biomass, put it into a biochar, and come up with a good carbon material that you can do a lot with the carbon. You can mix it with composting. You can do a lot of it to increase your yields in the field. Farmers could get a lot of increase their yield significantly by adding carbon. So a lot of uses for that material. Am I doing okay on time? Here's an idea, a photo of the construction behind the C&D, our transfer station, where our C&D facility would go, and even going further back towards the Larimer County landfill. There's a lot of areas out there. All those trailers and everything, all those roll-off boxes are going to go away, and we'll have every bit of 75 to 100 acres right behind the transfer station that we can develop these programs. So we're pretty excited about it, and I think using that space out there for diversion is going to be a really good thing for the county and partner agencies. Before I get into the extended producer responsibility, that's a lot of information. Any questions?
Thank you kindly, Dwayne. Commissioner, questions or comments, please?
Yeah, just, if folks are listening, food waste is something, I know we're trying to tackle, and the composting, and it's important to get it right, because I think that, there's places that haven't gotten it right, where there is either contamination or, kind of dissatisfaction with either commercial people doing it, smells, different kinds of, there's a lot of factors here. So I just appreciate I know people are anxious for that, and also, I think you can speak to that too, but we want to get this right. We want to do it right, where there's not the smell, the contamination, the plastics in the, in the compost. There's so many factors to getting this right. So I appreciate you talking about that piece, and that there again, I think that there's municipal partners that definitely want us to get on board, and it's not that we don't want to get on board, but we want to have a successful program. that's, I said that right? I mean,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yes, no, thank you for that, Commissioner. I think we're excited about composting too, and we know a lot of the residents want it, and we know a lot of residents have their own composting programs that are very successful at home, and we encourage those. When you get into a commercial compost program, it's a whole different animal because, you know, when people talk about deconstruction and then you take a look at what we get on a daily basis for volume. So you tear a house down one board at a time. You know, we like those programs, those work. They're expensive to do, but people are doing them and they're able to use those materials. But in a landfill, if you come out and look in the landfill any given day, we have, you know, over 1,000 tons that comes in the 8 hours, and it has to be compacted and covered each day. And so it doesn't give you a lot of time to do much with those materials. And so diversion programs are programs that have to be very well thought out, and you have to go to the point of generation, which is where is these wastes being generated? And when we talk about food collection for food scraps from residents, it's at their home. And they have to be a part of the process and be engaged to keep the contamination out of the material. Developing a compost facility is like baking a cake. You have to have the right recipe. If you don't, your cake probably not going to taste that good. And composting is just not going to come out as a usable compost. And so we want, you're right, Commissioner, we want to get it right. So thank you.
I'd like to do a quick time check. I have a couple of questions, but I'm wondering how we're doing, Leslie.
Rebecca doesn't have any items last time we checked, and I have about 3 minutes worth of items.
So we're
I think
good.
as long as we can wrap this up with 3 minutes remaining, we should be okay.
My goodness, so much time. Yes, first of all, quick comment on the composting. I seem to recall when we first developed the SWIMP, the Solid Waste Master Plan, we had discussion about Tier 1 and Tier 2 projects. And I know the food composting thing was always a high priority, but it's a pretty challenging thing to get right. So I appreciate that we're actually there to do a pilot, and we've been very deliberative about how to go about that. So that's great news. I thank you for that. And my questions are the two questions, please. And one is, can we or will we be able to recycle shingles? That's question number one. Can we recycle shingles, roof shingles?
You know, yes and no. So it's a dual question. You know, some states and some counties are allowed to take shingles, shred them, grind them up, and put them in the asphalt. And Colorado, some are doing that. But what happened a number of years ago, the state allowed recyclers to start taking shingles for recycling. And all of a sudden, kind of like the tires, it became a big problem and nobody was recycling them. And so the state had to do a big mass cleanup of shingles. And so they banned them from being recycling. Now, if we could find the right partners to mix into their asphalt and the county would approve, or the state, DOT, would approve asphalt being into the asphalt mix, then absolutely we could. We get a lot of shingles. And, you know, that would be something we'd be excited about.
Thank you very much. My second question, and that is, you mentioned that the current landfill has another perhaps 8 months to a year. When will we finally cap it and actually reclaim it? Will that be a few years away? And when that occurs, is it still a topic of conversation to perhaps put a solar array on top of the grass?
Thank you for those questions. I think, so there's a process here over the next few years. So by the end of this year, it's going to be pretty close to being filled to capacity. And say if we go into the first quarter of next year, that's fine. We know it's going to be about that time frame. The big thing that we're working on now is the methane gas expansion system. We're going to literally place pipes all over in that landfill and bury them. And so we're going to rip it up pretty good to put these pipes in. We're going to add 119 wells, and that means laterals all over the landfill. And so we wanted to do it before we spend all this money closing. Now, once we put all those pipes in, then we'll go to the process of closing it. And once we put the clay on and get a good cap on it, that's going to even increase our methane collection and capturing even more significantly, which is going to be, I think, a pretty good system. So I would say probably 3.5 years before we totally cap it, but it is on the radar to get capped. We have evaluated solar panels, and if we were fortunate enough to face the south face of the landfill, we could develop 13 megawatts of solar power. If we did the entire landfill to where you could hardly see it, then we could get up to 23 megawatts. And so in both cases, we could put solar panels on the landfill to generate energy.
That's
or power.
great. So it sounds like it's still a consideration for the future.
Yes.
Oh,
and
my.
at some point, we'll have to bring that to the board and have these discussions, because I'm sure there'll be some discussions with the public for sure about what it looks like and
Well,
stuff
at that
like
point, as Commissioner Emeritus, if you want my feedback, let me know. Please continue, sir.
Well, I think the last one, certainly not the least, the Extended Producer Responsibility Program, EPR. The state really tackled an animal here. This is a really big program, and, you know, we're supporting the state all we can. So the program revolves around the state is having the producers of packaging of materials be responsible to pay for recycling. And so if you go back into the 70s, I'll digress for a minute. If you go back to the 70s, when we came up with the 1 through 7 plastics was going to be this great deal, we just never really have recovered it like we thought we were going to. And so with this new program, the manufacturers of the packaging are going to be heavily involved in the recycling. So as they develop new materials for packaging, it would be to their benefit too to make sure these are recyclable. And so hopefully we can get this thing turned to where materials are being recycled and not put into the landfill. So we're excited about that. There's 3 goals, and it's happening as we speak. The initial goal is to ensure recycling is available to all residents in Colorado. And so that's kind of a big deal. There's a lot of folks that do not have access to recycling. That's going to change. Develop master service agreements with processors to apply for reimbursement of processing costs for recycling, residential recycling. So in our case, Waste Management is our processor. And of course, we're working with them to make sure that we get reimbursed for this recycling. And we want to increase our recycling in Larimer County significantly. And then lastly, develop master service agreements with the government agencies to become eligible for reimbursement for drop-off and education of outreach funding. Now, we are applying for that. We take care of recycling for the town of Wellington. We have a box up at the Public Works that's open 24/7 for residents to put recycling in. We service that container weekly. We will get reimbursed for that by the state. We also take care of Red Feather Lakes and Glacier View recycling program. And we have a big program with Estes Park with their residential recycling. Waste Management handles it for us, but we also are heavily involved in that program. And so these programs, the county will be able to apply for reimbursement. Then we can take that money and put it back into these programs to make them bigger and better for residents. So we're pretty excited about this program. We've already applied for these, and we're waiting for the state. Actually, we already got approved for the government for the drop-off in education, the first phase, but now we have to do a master service agreement. So we'll work with our attorneys to get this worked out with the state, and this program should be alive and well in June.
Great. Thank you, Dwayne. Colleagues, any closing comments before we shift to Leslie? Commissioner Stevens, and then perhaps Lorraine.
Yeah, this is fascinating. I have tons of page of notes. It's really nice to see, everything that you're working on. Lots of really great programs for the community, lots of great diversion programs in the mix, which I think will make all our residents happy because that's something our residents definitely have wanted. So I just appreciate all your work on this, Dwayne. It's really great to have the update on where things are, and we look forward to opening both the transfer station and the landfill soon.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Excellent. Lorinda, anything you'd like to share real quick?
I'll just say this has been a long time coming, and Dwayne has put a lot of work into this, both in terms of the site issues, the dealing with the state, ordering equipment. This has been a very complex thing, and Dwayne, you have done a remarkable job. I know you don't do it alone. You have a team. You're the first one to always tell me that, but it takes a really strong leader to provide that direction, and you've done a great job. So
Thank
we are
you.
here because of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And I can't add anything to what my colleagues have said. I echo them, I amplify them, I put exclamation points on them, and I'm really glad that we were able to keep you. So I'm glad you're still here, and we really want to see this thing completed, so you still got to stick around for a while.
Yeah, and that's why I'm here. I'd like to push this across the finish line,
Push it.
and before we hand it off to the next generation, we want to make sure they run with it, right?
Amen. Leslie, you're on.
And we got a lot
Thank
more
you.
to do too, so don't go anywhere. And you have some hold dates on calendars for opening dates and that sort of thing. We'll finalize those and firm those times up in the next couple of weeks when we know more from the state permitting and whatnot. But thank you, Dwayne. My quick items, one is you have a list in front of you on the table there. Our engineering team, Katie Bilby and others are notifying subdivisions that have a pavement condition index rating. These are subdivisions that the roads aren't too bad, but we just want them to be starting to think about the future and future funding for their roads. So whenever we send out these postcards, of course, sometimes you get questions or Lorinda might get questions, so please direct them to Katie, or there's an email address on there that's the Engineering Improvement District email address too, and a phone number there as well. So let us know if you get anything there, but we just wanted you to know that that team is completing the last round of those types of subdivisions with roads that are in that rating area. The other thing I wanted to remind everybody about, and of course you're well aware, but we have the exciting Poudre River Trail celebration coming up on June 13th, but the trail is not open. I saw some social media postings this weekend encouraging people to get out there, that it's open, and Dalen and Megan confirmed with me that no, it's not. We're still finalizing some things, and we'll have a press release and notify the public when it is officially open. So if you do hear about it or get questions, it's not officially open. They are aiming for a soft opening probably before the actual event on June 13th, but that's contingent on finishing some of these projects right around. There's a crossing and some fence work that still needs to be completed. So just because it seemed like there were some mixed messages out there, I wanted to reiterate that it's not officially open yet. Also, Dalen and Megan will be here next week to share some more updates about that and some other natural resource related topics. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Rebecca, for being here and paying attention. Rule number one. Thank you, Lori. And of course, my colleagues over here. It is 2:29. Woo-hoo. We are adjourned.